The release of Kimi K3 is going to change the cybersecurity landscape forever. Even if you never use this model, you never send it a prompt, you never download it, the way that you build software is going to have to change. In this video, I'll break down exactly why and then what you can do to fix it step by step, including how to use the same technology to defend yourself right now. So the first thing you should know about this model, Kimi K3, is that it performs neck and neck with Claude Fable 5. Fable 5 is the most capable model widely available today, and even though it's open weight and a lot of these open weight models seem like a toy, Kimi K3 is different. It's frontier level intelligence. Now the thing about Fable 5 is that it was treated as dangerous. The US government temporarily took it offline, citing cybersecurity fears and bioweapons fears. The difference is that Fable 5 can be locked down. It's hosted on Anthropic servers, whereas Kimi K3 is open weight. Now, what does open weight actually mean? It means that any provider can host it. Any firm, any company, any threat actor can run this themselves if they have enough compute. That means that Anthropic isn't there to block requests. No company can see their logs. So what this means simply is that you have the capabilities of a model like Fable, but anybody can run it. Attackers get the same power that defenders have with none of the restrictions. This means that you should expect a real rise in these attacks, and that's coming whether or not you choose to use this model. Now, the model will be released on July 27th. Up until that point, it's only accessible via the API. And it's expected that the developer of Kimi K3 is going to spend this time to make sure that the model cannot be used for malice. But even with the best restrictions, if it's hosted on your own machine, people will always find a way. So you should build like this is already happening. You should assume that attackers now have a frontier model that they can use for hacking. Your new baseline of security needs to rise to meet that. These attacks are no longer only going to come from an elite North Korean hacking group. It can come from any script kiddie or startup using this from a provider. But the good news is that you can use the same power that they would use to attack in order to defend yourself. So what you can do is actually audit your own app using AI. You can use a strong model like Kimi K3, or you can use Fable or GPT 5.6 to look at your own codebase and have it find weaknesses. And make this a routine. Don't just run it once. Anytime that you have new features, especially ones that touch large portions of your codebase, run the audit again. And what I'll actually do is give you this cybersecurity Git repository. There's actually a community project called Anthropic Cybersecurity Skills. It has 754 structured skills across 27 areas, and it's free to use. It works with Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, etc. But you still need to know the limit. Like, even if you use these AI frameworks and you use the best coding agents to find vulnerabilities, that is just the starting point. If you have a real production app with user data, that is not enough. Pay an actual security professional to review it, to pen test it, and to fix the vulnerabilities that for sure exist in your app. Because if you don't find them, attackers will find them first, and it's way easier for them to do that now. Now, I want to be clear, the launch of Kimi K3 is not all bad. The overwhelming majority of people who use this model will use it for good. Only a tiny majority of people will ever use it for malice, but you need to be aware of those people because they can cause harm. I firmly believe that Kimi K3 is going to be a net positive for the world because it checks the AI giants and it gives power back to individuals to run AI themselves. Even if they're not going to use it on their own hardware, they don't have the equipment for it, by allowing providers to host it, it's going to be a counterbalance in the market. But being optimistic doesn't mean being unprepared, so harden your setups anyway. Now, let's go into part 2, which is about using Kimi K3. If you want to use this model, how do you do it in the right way to protect yourself and protect your data? Right now, as of July 17th, there's only one host, and that is Moonshot, the creators of this model, which is based in China. That means that every prompt you send, including your code and your data, goes to Chinese servers. For a throwaway project, something that's not important, you could say that's fine. For anything sensitive, stop and think. Now, on July 17th, the weights of this model go public. What that means is that providers anywhere can host this model, not just Moonshot. And that will inevitably include a lot of firms which are based in the United States. In that case, you can choose who is spying on you, but at least you have control over where your data goes. Now, one thing, if you're going to use a routing platform like OpenRouter, check the privacy of which platform you are using. Look for platforms that have ZDR, that is zero data retention. I believe OpenRouter does this by default, but you can opt into data collection for training, and they'll give you something like a 1% discount for it. So always be aware of where your data is going at every step along the chain. So if privacy matters to you, don't rush onto the Chinese hosted version just today. Wait for a provider that you're actually comfortable with, or if you have millions of dollars in compute, you can of course run this yourself. You'll have the same model with the same weights, but the only thing that changes is who sees your prompts. Now, if you want to see my full breakdown where I go into how to actually use this model, as well as a breakdown of how it compares to Fable 5, then click the video right here that you see on screen.